Welcome back, friends and neighbors. We're still in Glendale, California, Forest Lawn Memorial Park. And in this video, we'll visit the graves of those perhaps aren't so famous, but still important people nonetheless. We'll visit the final resting place of Charlie Tuna. He was a radio DJ, also a game show announcer. We'll find Frank Churchill, who was a Disney composer and songwriter. Vincent Bugliosi, he was a prosecutor for Charles Manson trial. This is the church that Ronald Reagan was married in. Also, was the funeral service of Sharon Tate. All right, join me for our walk, and we'll find other famous graves as we go. Today's a beautiful day in Southern California in the fall. First stop is Vincent Bugliosi. The G is silent. He was born in Hibbing, Minnesota. He became famous for working on one of the most famous crime trials in history, the Manson murders. In 1979, he turned his experience into a book called Helter Skelter. It became one of the best-selling crime books of all time. I remember reading it a few years ago.
Well, I was the prosecutor of Charles Manson, but I wasn't just the prosecutor. I did not limit my role to just being the prosecutor. The traditional role of a prosecutor in a criminal case throughout the years has always been twofold. Number one, to handle the legal aspects of the case, and number two, to present evidence in court gathered by law enforcement agencies. But I have never accepted those limitations. In big murder cases, and more so in the Manson case than any other case, I always go out into the field, join the LAPD or the LA Sheriff's Office in the investigation, interviewing witnesses, knocking on doors, chasing down leads. If you rely completely on law enforcement, if they do a good job, fine, but if they don't, it's legal suicide. Also, it's much easier to present a case in court that you've helped put together. So my role in that case was as a prosecutor, but I also joined in the investigation. And my involvement was complete 7 days a week, frequently 100 hours a week. There were a couple nights I stayed up all night. I worked over the lunch hour. I had a little cot in my office where I would lie down for 10 minutes. The bodyguard who drove me to and from work, I'm working in the car, so it's full-time, 7 days a week for 2 years.
He was also an expert in both the RFK and JFK assassinations. He thought RFK was a conspiracy. However, he did not believe there was a conspiracy in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Got the finger monster. Let's keep moving. I've always been a fan of good radio voices. Don Imus comes to mind. Imus in the Morning out of New York. Also Larry Lujak, WLS, Chicago. And this fella, Arthur W. Ferguson. Stage name is Charlie Tuna. He was the #1 disc jockey around Los Angeles. Also was the announcer for many game shows.
Charlie Tuna, KHK, Los Angeles.
Oh, there must be a better way to start the day than by getting up. Early worms are for the birds. Good morning. It's 6 o'clock. You can always tell you've had a rough night when you find yourself parking your car, standing in front of a parking meter you've just put a penny in, thinking to yourself that I've gained an hour.
Coming up next is a Walt Disney connection, Frank Churchill. Frank was an American film composer, best known for his work on Disney films such as Snow White and Peter Pan. He dropped out of medical studies at UCLA to pursue his career. He also got an Oscar for co-writing Baby of Mine from Dumbo. Unfortunately, he unalived himself in 1942 at his ranch here in California. He did this while sitting at his piano. They believed it may have been due to losing two close friends who passed. They were fellow Disney Orchestra members. Well, I made it to the top of the hill. This is a famous grave of one of Hollywood's greatest film legends that you know today, James Stewart. James started out by joining the drama club at Princeton University. He then starred in some Broadway plays and films. Then he served in the military as a B-24 bomber pilot. When he becomes a colonel, he returned to the screen with films you know, such as It's a Wonderful Life. During this time, he also held various military positions until 1968. He becomes a general. Stewart had over 3,000 mourners at his memorial service here at Forest Lawn Cemetery. Now I'm going to bring in a poem that he wrote about his dog named Bo. He read it on the Johnny Carson show. I remember watching it live. Please take a couple of minutes and watch and listen to the poem completely through. It's very moving.
I just thought I'd write a poem. You want to hear
Please,
it?
oh yes.
You want to hear it? Now this, well,
They could always start the wedding late, I guess.
now the title of it is Bo. That's the name of the dog. He never came to me when I would call unless I had a tennis ball, or he felt like it. But mostly he didn't come at all. When he was young, he never learned to heel or sit or stay. He did things his way. Discipline was not his bag, but when you were with him, things sure didn't drag. He'd dig up a rose bush just to spite me, and when I'd grab him, he'd turn and bite me. He bit lots of folks from day to day. The delivery boy was his favorite prey. The gas man wouldn't read our meter. He said we owned a real man-eater. He set the house on fire, but the story's long to tell. Suffice to say that he survived and the house survived as well. And on evening walks, and Gloria took him, he was always first out the door. The old one and I brought up the rear because our bones were sore. And he'd charge up the street with Mom hanging on. What a beautiful pair they were. And if it was still light and the tourists were out, they created a bit of a stir. But every once in a while, he'd stop in his tracks and with a frown on his face, look around. It was just to make sure that the old one was there to follow him where he was bound. We're early to bedders in our house. I guess I'm the first to retire. And as I'd leave the room, he'd look at me and get up from his place by the fire. He knew where the tennis balls were upstairs, and I'd give him one for a while, and he'd push it under the bed with his nose, and I'd dig it out with a smile. But before very long, he'd tire of the ball, and he'd be asleep in his corner in no time at all. And there were nights when I'd feel him climb upon our bed and lie between us, and I'd pat his head. And there were nights when I'd feel this stare, and I'd wake up and he'd be sitting there, and I'd reach out to stroke his hair, and sometimes I'd feel him sigh, and I think I know the reason why. He'd wake up at night and he would have this fear of the dark, of life, of lots of things, and he'd be glad to have me near. And now he's dead. And there are nights when I think I feel him climb upon her bed and lie between us, and I pat his head. And there are nights when I think I feel that stare, and I reach out my hand to stroke his hair, and he's not there. Oh, how I wish that wasn't so. I'll always love a dog named Bo.
Our next stop is Carl William Demarest. Let me get down here so we can read it. Beloved husband, lives from February 27th, 1892, dies December 27th. Right after Christmas, this looks like 1983. He appeared in over 140 films, such as Pardon My Dust and On Our Merry Way. He was best known for his roles in comedies, such as Uncle Charlie and My Three Sons.
Charlie, okay.
Maggie, hi.
What is going on here?
I was cutting a piece of cake for the dog, Trent. He has a sweet tooth.
You always put his cake on a plate and feed it to him with a fork.
Oh, Maggie. Bicycling and standing on my head worked up an appetite.
You are only allowed 1/2 cup of carrot puree.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, I still watch the reruns today. Or actually, I still watch them today on YouTube. YouTube is precious to my heart. I must say, when headstones are above ground, it's much, much easier to find. Sometimes within 2 or 3 minutes, when they're laying flat at a memorial park, such as this one, it takes 20 to 30 minutes to find each one. This is a grave of Frank Baum. He lives from 1856, dies 1919. He was an American author who is best known for writing children's books, such as The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. He wrote over 200 poems. Some we had to read in high school literature class, and boy, do I remember well. Miss Trigg was my lit teacher. To be noted, some of his last words before his pass, he said, "Now we can cross the shifting sands," which was an ode to the place in the fictional land of Oz. Some of you may remember. Sammee Tong lives from 1901, dies 1964, beloved father. He unalives himself. He leaves a note to the police department. "I did this on my own, no one to blame." Suffered from depression, according to Mickey Rooney. He was an American actor from the 30s through the 50s, born in San Francisco, California. He often had a hard time landing roles due to his being an Asian back in the day. He finally made a deal and signed with Columbia Pictures and made his film debut in The Captain Hates the Sea. He played in a lot of shorts as well. He appears on the Mickey Mouse Club a few times. Then he starred in the sitcom Mickey, starring Mickey Rooney. This is before he retired. I remember Sammy in the Mad, Mad, Mad World movie. Liz Renay. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She lives from April the 14th, 1926. Dies January 22nd, 2007. She dies of a heart attack while living in Las Vegas. Model, star of stage, screen, and television, artist, author, and beloved mother of Brenda and Johnny. She is a one-time girlfriend of mobster Mickey Cohen. She served 2 years in Terminal Island Federal Prison in California for perjury charges. She wrote a tell-all book, My First 2,000 Men, where she claimed to have affairs with Joe DiMaggio, Regis Philbin, Cary Grant, and others. She was married 7 times. This is usually where I would put an insurance tip within the video, but I think I think this time I'm going to drive back to Las Vegas. It's about a 300-mile drive from here in Glendale, California. I think I know where his final resting place is, so I want to go back and show some respect to him, my appreciation in getting me into the industry. So come along with me. We'll be back in, what do you say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we are, Las Vegas, Nevada. It took 5 hours to get here. We're pulling into Bunkers, Edenville Memorial Park. Hello, mailman, mail carrier. Within this smaller memorial park are 4 famous graves. Straight ahead in this mausoleum is Benny Binion, the owner of the hotel casino, also his son Ted, who was found dead in his house, allegedly murdered several years ago. Stan is straight ahead, according to Find a Grave. This is Las Vegas Boulevard. And left would take you right through the Las Vegas Strip. I'm having some emotions. This is the fella that hired me when I first turned, actually, I started being trained when I was 21. I'm 66 years old now, still in the business. When I was 22, just turning 22, my first day on the job was January 16th, 1982, after Mr. Heyman trained me. Now, what I really liked about him, he was old school insurance guy. He recruited and trained 250 agents. I was one of them. Now, I think, yeah, here we go. Here we go. Up towards the top. And he would often say to me, hey, I'll see you at the top. So here he is at the top. Lives from 1925 until 1999. I remember being scared to death as a trying to make it selling insurance. You can just imagine. But he said, if you make 100 phone calls, make 100 phone calls, 3 will let you give them a quote. 1's going to buy. Just do that every day and you'll be successful. Today I'm an independent insurance agent, over 40 years. Enjoying life. The income enables me to make trips to California and come back with about 4 videos per trip. Grateful to Stanley Heyman. Everybody should be remembered. Happy trails.